everybody. I'm just here to recap for Art Club what we did on Thursday for those of you who might not have been able to make it, or maybe need a little recap lesson for you. What we discussed, we were discussing drawing some faces, and of course in Art Club under our Classwork tab I've left this wonderful resource for you. It's got drawing the proportions of the face, which of course we're going to work on together very shortly. But I've also left you some reference for eyes, noses, and mouths. Of course, these aren't, stuff that you have to use, but of course, it's always good to have a reference for what you want to draw when you're drawing it, and especially if it's something you've never done before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my demo cam, and I'm going to show you how to do the top row to start with, how to get your proportions in the right spots. Okay, so here comes my demo cam. Actually, I started creating this video and for some reason it stopped recording, so I'm going to have to start over again. So let me flip my paper over to the blank side. All right, so we're going to start off with the shape of a person's head. And anytime you draw a shape of a person's head, it's usually an upside down egg shape. Skinnier on the bottom, a little bit fatter on the top. Now, yes, I know some people have, pointy chins. Some people might have a little more squarer chin, or maybe you're a wider draw. If you've never drawn a portrait or a face before, it is also a good idea to go ahead and look at some people's faces. Take a look at what their head shape might be. All right, now, why are we dividing our face in half? We're dividing our face in half because all faces are symmetrical. That means same on both sides. So whatever happens on this side, it's got to happen on this side. It's not very straight, is it? Let me try that again. That's why we have erasers on our pencil. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide our face in half horizontally. So we've done vertically first. Now we're going to go horizontal. And how I do this is I put one finger at the top, one finger at the bottom, and whoop, where they meet is most of the time right in the center. But I do go back with my fingers and just measure. Is it the same distance at the top as it is down here at the bottom? Might need to come down just a tiny bit lower. And I'm going to draw a very light line. Now, you might be saying, Mrs. Swistek, why this line right here? Well, this is where the eyes are going to land at. Your eyes are actually right in the middle of your head. They are not up here. This would be your forehead and where your hair goes. So they're down lower in the middle. That's a common mistake a lot of people make. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide this space between the eyes and the chin in half. I'm going to push my fingers together. And let me use my fingers just to measure. Oh, that might need to come down a little more. Is that space the same distance? Yes, it is now. There. All right, now I'm going to draw myself a nice light line, and this is where the tip of the nose is going to rest at. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to divide my little space from the nose to the chin in half, and that is where the mouth is going to live about. Okay, so now that we have our proportions set up of where our features need to go, I'm going to show you how to start jumping in with the eyes. Now, on your reference sheet, let me push this down and show you right here. Okay, you'll see the outline of 5 eyes on a person's face. You can fit 5 eyes across your head. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to tilt my camera up and rotate it. Here I am. Hi, everybody. Okay, so if I take my fingers and I measure that space in between my eyes, that's 1 eye space. That space should be the same size as your eye, 2, and then to your hairline, that would be 3. So if I go all the way across my head with that space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can fit 5 eyes across your face. Pretty cool, right? So let me tilt my camera back. Here's my head. And the reason why I'm telling you that is so that you make your eyes the right size for your person's face. Sometimes people make them too big or too small. So what I first do is I kind of guess a little space here in the middle. That's for my one eye space. I'm going to use my pencil to kind of measure that space. So it goes from the tip of my eraser to maybe that yellow band right there on my pencil. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to see if that space will make 5 spaces going across my face that are about the same size. Yeah, you might have to move lines over or in, or maybe even the side of your head a little bit so that it fits correctly. All right, so that is how you can get the eyes properly placed. Now your eyes are going to fit into these 2 spaces right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to start drawing an eye. So here on your eye reference sheet, you got a ton of eyes to look at. Some things I want to point out to you. Of course, let me use this little drawing tool because that works out pretty cool for me. I want you to notice on a person's eye, all right, we've got that round pupil right there. Oops. We also have a crease usually above our eye and sometimes even below. All righty. We have, yes, eyebrows that live above our eye and also that little eyelid. I think I told you about that. And don't forget, when you're looking at a person's eyeball, they are round. They are not an oval, and they have a little black circle inside called the pupil. We also have some eyelashes there too. So we'll also be talking about eyelashes. All right, let me grab my camera back up and let's draw some eyes on our face. There it goes. Takes a second to focus. Okay, just adjust. So I'm going to do my top eyelid, kind of like a large frown. And I want you to notice that when I drew that top eyelid, I brought these ends of it right a little tiny bit below the line. I'm going to show you why I did that in a second. Now, instead of going right to the corner, I'm going to come in a little bit, probably on that line, and I'm going to do my smile underneath it. And that's going to give me my first eye shape. And the reason why I made that upper line a little bit longer was so now it looks like that eyelid can close over the top of that lower lid. And you can always connect it up like this to make a little point there. Now, we talk about before when we were looking at our eyes on our reference sheet. I'm going to erase those guidelines so they stay out of my way. We make our iris, that's the colored part of your eye, a nice round circle, and your pupil as a black dot in it. And of course, it doesn't hurt to look at some eyes while you're doing this. I'm going to leave a little white dot inside so it looks like that eye reflection. Now, most people's eyes, they're not white, so you should give them a little, shade over in with a pencil. All right, so that's our first eyeball. All right, now let's make this look like a real eye by giving it that crease over the top for our eyelid where it folds up into your head. Sometimes there's even a little kind of crease down there. We also need to talk about eyelashes. Now, on my practice one that I was doing earlier, I'm going to show you how not to draw eyelashes. So if you're drawing eyes and you've done your eyeball and your eye and you've done your eyeball and your pupil and you've shaded it in and it's looking great, then people go ahead and ruin it by adding eyelashes by going big spider legs like that. You don't want to do big spider legs. You want to do gentle kind of side to side eyelashes. So just kind of going kind of sideways like that. And of course, whether it's male or female, and depending on how you want your eyelashes to look, you of course make them as long and as, kind of fluffy as you want. But I will tell you, as they get towards the front corner of the eye, those little eyelash hairs usually get smaller. All right, so let's do it on my person here. So I'm going to do that same kind of side to side motion for my eyelashes. And yes, they can get smaller and almost go away as they get towards the inside corner. Pretty awesome. I didn't make my ones on the bottom too big, and that's okay. All right, now the question always is, I did this great eye, how can I make it the same on the other side? There's two ways to do this. If you're able to get some tracing paper, tracing paper is a wonderful thing to have because now you can trace this, or maybe you have some thin copy paper that you can see through. You can trace this, and then I'll show you a trick in 1 second. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to place it in the same place, and if I trace over on the back of it, it will very lightly go on the paper in place. You can see kind of its light ghost image there. Now, if you don't have tracing paper or thin paper, what we're going to do, I'm using my little ruler here and I'm lining it up with the edge of my paper, and I'm lining it up with that first eye that I drew. And this is going to make sure that you don't make that lower eyelid any droopier than that one there. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, but the upper eyelid, so that I don't make it any higher than the one over here. Now, keep in mind, yes, we are symmetrical. Same things happen on both sides, but we are human. And that means not every single thing on our body or faces are absolutely, positively, perfectly symmetrical. And if you don't believe me, take a look at yourself. Take a look at some photographs of some people. You know, somebody's eye, left eye, might be a little squintier on one side than it is on the other. Somebody's eyelashes might be a little shorter, or you might have one eye open a little bit more than the other. So, of course, as you're going along, don't worry if it doesn't look absolutely, positively, perfectly symmetrical. What makes a drawing look great on a person is those kind of imperfect perfections, I like to call them. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the eyebrows over the top. And I want you to notice how I'm doing these eyebrows. I'm kind of going back and forth with my pencil so that it looks like it's little hairs. Very rarely will you see just a straight line for an eyebrow. Yes, I know there are women that shave their eyebrows and either have them penciled or tattooed in. It's a whole different story. We're looking for a more natural looking human-like portrait. So you want to try and do some little hairs. And I believe that is as far as we got. Yes, on Thursday. Here's my little example that I was doing on Thursday. You'll notice I also, darkened up in the corners just to give it a little more, kind of cooler, interesting look. Next week when I see you for Art Club, I want you to make sure you do 3 things for me. Of course, I do want you to continue practicing your face shapes and your eyes and getting your eyebrows in the right spot. The next thing I want you to make sure you do is you choose one of those November sketching challenges to commit to and have that to show me for our next Art Club meeting. And the last thing I want you to make sure you have is a photograph of somebody, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, but it should be a real person. It should not be an anime character. Have that ready for yourself so that we can do a little drawing with that person that you're choosing to draw. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, our next Art Club meeting is not until December the 3rd because that's Thanksgiving next week. I hope you have a great and wonderful weekend and a great and wonderful rest of your day. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen. Sayonara. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao.